Well, I think it's going to be a best practice at the end of the day. I mean, I'll give a very easy example, and it comes back to the minor. So the minor, by all interpretations, and I think we discussed this earlier, is virtually always going to be on a Schedule C. It's not ordinary income. It's sort of laid out in 2014-21. So they give us enough clarity that we could pretty much all be on the same page that if you're mining cryptocurrency, it will probably show up on a Schedule C. And to your point, once it shows up on a Schedule C, let's say that miner is, like they should be, buying and then either depreciating, expensing, what have you, the assets and resources that it takes. So if you're going out and buying an Antminer S9 for $3,000 to $10,000, and you're going to want to take that deduction. If you want to take your electricity costs, your other home office, yeah. But at the same time, well, what if you're hiring people or paying people to do that? You want to have track of the money going out. It's just as valid. I think it's part of the process. And
well, because you need that for a deduction. If you're going to pay tax on it, right? Why should your subcontractors not pay it? And then you even mentioned a lot of times your subcontractors or other people you're paying, right, might be offshore. So you may have backup withholdings that you're supposed to be taking because they don't have a taxpayer ID number, or
which creates interesting issues. So as valid as crypto is as a medium of exchange, as valid as crypto is at avoiding friction, it should never be used to avoid legality. And I think that's one of the key things that we want to make sure is a takeaway, and that we also issue spot for clients. We're not the auditor. It's not our job. We're not there to validate every transaction and question every transaction. But frankly, and very much largely because the clients are not aware of these things, it is our, I would say, duty beyond everything, even as Circular 230 practitioners or whatnot, to go ahead and inform the clients of these issues, to let them know this is something they're going to have to comply with, to let them know there's some potential frameworks around this. So yes, while it's convenient and you avoid the PayPal or Venmo or other types of Zoom type transfer fees to go ahead and send money overseas, maybe using crypto, that does not necessarily preclude you from 1099 reporting requirements. It does not necessarily preclude you from doing things like keeping track of those transactions in a way so you can perform the 1099. So the anonymity factor we sort of get back to there. And then in the extreme situation, having to potentially do backup withholding, which is in and of itself an issue, because if you look at traditional backup withholding, it's a dollar amount. So if you're backup withholding and you're backup withholding a portion of crypto, who's the beneficiary of that appreciation from the time that you do your backup withholding until the time that you make your valid deposits in fiat? If you remain in crypto, is that your gain? Is that their benefit until the deposit? Some of these things are just sort of questions that you're going to have to walk through. And yes, there's probably some better answers than not, but a lot of it's going to be very situational. So understanding the frameworks and applying the rules that we know, especially given the guidance that we do have, is going to be an effort.
But once those 1099s start flowing, everything changes at that point.
Very much so.
Because if you're taking backup withholdings from a subcontractor, you just cut their pay by like 30%, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not even their they're like, I don't even live in this country. Like, what? Like, this doesn't make sense. I quit.
Yeah, so it's I think it would be an interesting thing if before every bounty that someone was signing a W8BEN or a W8BENE. I think the bounty cost would have to be adjusted, and that's an interesting point. Sure. I talk a lot about crypto removing friction, but what happens when you have to add some of this friction back in to comply with legal purposes?